He was just trying to eat breakfast until two cops tried to humiliate him. Then he made one phone call that changed everything. It's just past 8 a.m. on a gray Tuesday morning in Mon, Georgia, you know, the kind where the sky feels like wet concrete and even the street lights don't seem fully awake yet. On Vineville Avenue, there's a tiny no-frills diner tucked between a dry cleaner and a pawn shop, the kind of place where the coffee is never great, but the people make it worth sitting down. And Clarence Dupri is already there, back against the wall, seat by the window. Same booth every week. His army jacket is older than the dishwasher in the back, frayed at the cuffs and faded near the shoulders, but still clean. His beard scruffy, but trimmed. He smells like black coffee and tobacco, not cigarettes, but the kind you roll yourself with a little too much paper. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, it's always with respect. "Morning, Mr. Dupri," says Carla the waitress. She's early 30s, 2 kids, and runs the floor like a traffic cop with a smile. "Hey, Carla, you got any more of that peach cobbler today?" She laughs. "You know we don't start that till lunch. You want your usual?" Clarence nods. She doesn't need to ask what that means. Scrambled eggs, grits, 2 strips of bacon, and toast if it's not burnt. Coffee, no cream, no sugar, always the same. Behind the counter, Harold, the owner, glances over his glasses. "That man could run this place better than me with one hand behind his back," he says to Carla under his breath. "He's the only reason I don't walk out of here some days." Carla replies. To most customers walking in, Clarence looks like someone barely holding on. No car, no permanent address, one pair of shoes that have seen better decades. But to the people who matter inside this little diner, he's family, a quiet one, sure, but one they trust. Clarence doesn't say much. He sips his coffee slowly, eyes scanning the news on the TV above the counter. There's a story about veterans not receiving their benefits. He doesn't flinch, just exhales slow through his nose and looks back out the window. Outside, traffic's starting to pick up. Students headed to Mercer, parents dropping off kids at school, folks trying to beat the rush to Robins Air Force Base. Nobody sees the black and white cruiser pull up right away. It's not speeding, no sirens, just 2 officers stepping out like it's routine. Maybe to them it is. Officer Langley, tall, built like he played college ball 20 years ago and never got over it, opens the door. His partner, Officer Ree, short and square-faced with a clipboard under one arm, follows close behind. They walk in like they've done it 100 times because they have. Carla sees them first and forces a smile. "Morning, officers." Usual table, but they don't answer. Langley's eyes are already fixed on Clarence. "Sir," he says, walking over, "you a customer here?" Clarence blinks once, slow, then nods. "I am. You buy anything?" Ree asks it. "Coffee, breakfast on the way." Langley glances at the counter. "You got a receipt?" Carla steps in. "He's fine, he's here all the time." Langley doesn't look at her. "Did I ask you?" Carla's mouth opens, but Harold raises a hand from the back. "Don't, Carla," he says softly. Clarence doesn't move, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't flinch. "I paid, she took the order, you can ask her." Ree squints. "You carrying ID?" Clarence leans back, slow, reaches into his inside jacket pocket, and pulls out an old leather wallet, edges cracked. He slides over a VA card. Langley takes one look and scoffs. "This is all you got?" "It's all I need." Ree gives a short laugh, like Clarence just told a joke only he finds funny. "Yeah, we'll see." But before they even ask him to leave, the diner falls quiet and a pressure starts building, the kind that tells you something's about to go real wrong, real fast. Ree steps in closer, arms folded like he's sizing Clarence up for a mugshot. "How long you been here?" he asks. Clarence looks up at the clock on the wall. "About 30 minutes. Langley tilts his head. "And how long you planning on staying?" Clarence's eyes narrow just a little, but his voice stays calm. "Long enough to eat my breakfast like everyone else." Carla slides the plate onto the table, trying not to make it look rushed. "Here you go, Mr. Dupri." Langley raises an eyebrow. "He already ordered." Carla doesn't back down this time. "He comes in every Tuesday, pays cash, always polite. He's a regular." Sir Ree turns back to Clarence. "You homeless?" Clarence nods slowly. "I don't have a house, no, but I got a home in this town." Langley smirks. "You got smart answers, huh?" Clarence says nothing. He picks up his fork as if that'll make them go away. "But it doesn't, you see, this is the problem," Langley says, looking around like he's addressing a crowd. "People think they can just camp out wherever they want, take advantage of kind folks like you all. That fair to everyone else in here?" Nobody answers. Nobody wants to make it worse. A couple at the next table look down at their plates. A delivery guy waiting on a pickup shifts awkwardly near the door, but nobody says a word. Clarence cuts a piece of egg, chews, swallows, wipes his mouth with the napkin. "I served in Iraq twice, came back, worked the security in Alabama until my knees gave out. I get by. I don't steal, I don't beg, I pay for my food. So why are you talking to me like I broke into somebody's house?" Langley chuckles, "But there's no humor in it. Relax, just doing our job, making sure everything's in order." Carla steps forward again, eyes sharp. "Then check the register. He paid. I rang him up. What else do you need?" But Langley ignores her. Ree pulls out a little notepad. "Name, he asks. Clarence raises an eyebrow. It's right there on the card. I asked for your name out loud. Repeats. Clarence sighs. Clarence Dupri. Date of birth? February 10, 1968. Langley looks at run it. Walks back toward the cruiser, muttering something under his breath. Harold finally steps out from behind the counter, wiping his hands on a towel. Officers, can I talk to you outside a moment? Langley waves him off. We're good, sir. No, you're not, Harold says firmer now. That man has never caused trouble in my business. You got an actual reason to be here? Or are we just harassing veterans now? Langley finally turns to him. Sir, we're responding to a complaint. Harold frowns. From who? Langley doesn't answer. He just shifts his weight from one foot to the other and keeps watching Clarence like he's waiting for him to mess up. Clarence finishes a bite of toast and pushes his plate slightly forward as if to show he's done. He wipes his hands on the napkin and reaches into his jacket again. This time he pulls out a scratched up flip phone, the kind nobody uses anymore, except maybe someone like him. What's that? Langley asks, already sounding on edge. Clarence flips it open with one hand, presses a number on speed dial, waits. Harold leans into Clarence, but Clarence just raises one finger as the line clicks. He puts the phone to his ear, pause, then calm as ever. He says, it's happening again, and just like that, everything in the room shifts. Because no one knows what that call means, but the silence it leaves behind, it's loud enough to rattle the windows. Langley narrows his eyes, watching Clarence like he just pulled a pin on a grenade. Who the hell did you just call? Clarence doesn't flinch, doesn't answer. Instead, he calmly closes the flip phone, sets it on the table next to his plate, and leans back. You said you were just doing your job, Clarence says, voice low, steady. Now I'm doing mine. Langley steps forward, puffed up now, hands on his duty belt. Sir, I'm going to need you to stand up and come outside with me. Harold's had enough. No, he's not going anywhere. Not unless you're arresting him. Returns from the car holding a tablet. Name checks out, he mutters, scrolling. VA database confirms veteran status, honorable discharge, 2 tours, Bronze Star. Langley doesn't even blink. He homeless, yeah, no fixed address. Was cited last year in Albany for loitering. Langley nods like that's the only confirmation he needed. Then he's a drifter. Doesn't belong sitting here all day taking up space. Carla slams her notepad down on the counter. You've got regulars who sit for hours sipping 1 cup of coffee and nobody says a word, but you come in here and go after the one man who actually earned that right. Langley turns to her, pointing. Ma'am, I'd advise you to step back. You don't get to advise me in my own workplace. She snaps. Clarence stays seated, calm, still, but his fingers drum the edge of the table once, twice, 3 times. He doesn't look angry, just tired, the kind of tired that gets in your bones and never leaves. You see me as a problem, he says to Langley, but I'm not the one making a scene. Langley finally snaps. That's it, stand up now. Clarence slowly rises to his feet, taller than he seemed when sitting, straighter. He looks Langley in the eye. I don't want trouble. Langley reaches for his cuffs. You should have thought about that before you got clever. Before he can grab Clarence's wrist, the front door swings open fast, so fast the bell above doesn't even jingle right. It just slaps against the wall and bounces back. A man walks in, mid-40s, smooth navy suit, dark overcoat, no badge on his chest, but authority in every step. He moves with purpose, straight toward the table without pausing to look around. He holds up a black leather ID case. Assistant Director Mark Sorrell, Department of Justice. Langley freezes, hands still halfway to the cuffs. Sorrell's voice is crisp, calm, and lethal. Officers, I'm going to need your badge numbers now. Stumbles. Sir, we were just responding to a, there was no complaint. Sorrell cuts in. We monitor certain keywords on open radio lines. You're both recorded. Both of you were violating departmental protocol the moment you started questioning a civilian without cause. This man is a veteran, not a suspect. Langley's face flushes red. With all due respect, you're not our supervisor. No, Sorrell says, I'm your investigation. Clarence doesn't say a word, just sits back down, smooth and slow, like none of this surprises him. Harold exhales through his nose, long and deep. Carla's eyes are wide, flicking between the men like she's watching a courtroom drama on daytime TV. Langley looks around the room, realizing everyone's watching, everyone heard, everyone saw, and there's nothing he can do now. But the worst part for those officers, the camera on Ree's chest is still rolling, and what it's captured is more than enough to change everything. Sorrell doesn't sit, doesn't smile, doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't have to. I suggest you both step outside now. Langley and Ree hesitate like boys caught doing something they know their mama wouldn't approve of, but eventually they walk out without another word, heads down, shoulders tight. The diner stays quiet, but it's not peaceful. It's the kind of silence that watches. Clarence reaches for his coffee, still warm. Sorrell stays standing beside the booth, hands behind his back. He leans in just slightly, voice low enough only Clarence can hear. You all right? Clarence nods. Didn't want to call you, I know, Sorrell replies, but you were right. Carla finally finds her voice. Wait, what just happened? Who is he? Clarence glances up at her friend from the old days. Harold crosses his arms. You got friends who walk in with a DOJ badge and shut down cops mid-complaint. Clarence gives the faintest smile. Depends on the complaint. Sorrel turns to Carla and Harold. I apologize for the disruption. We won't be long. I need a few minutes with Mr. Dupri. Harold nods. Say what you need. Coffee's on the house. Clarence shakes his head. Put it on me. I always pay. Carla gives him a small smile. Of course you do. Sorrel sits across from him. His tone shifts, less official now, like he's talking to an old war buddy. Which he is. You sure you're okay? Clarence shrugs. I've had worse mornings, but I've had better, too. Sorrel's eyes narrow slightly. This the third time this year. Clarence, yet you want me to push this up the chain? Clarence doesn't answer right away, just folds his napkin neatly and places it beside his empty plate. Do what you got to do. I'm tired of explaining myself to people who already made up their minds. Sorrel nods. You shouldn't have to, not after what you gave up for this country. Clarence's face hardens just for a second. They only care about that when I'm in uniform. Not when I'm sitting in a diner trying to eat. Sorrel sighs. They'll be suspended at the very least. Clarence looks at him. Come, I don't want apologies. I want respect. I want them to learn something that sticks. Sorrel pulls out his phone. The bodycam footage will be flagged and reviewed today. You'll get an official call from Internal Affairs, probably 2 interviews. Then we'll notify the press. Clarence doesn't flinch. Let them see it. Maybe next time they'll think twice. Outside the diner window, Rhea's pacing by the patrol car, arms crossed. Langley's on his phone, his face stormy and pale all at once. Inside, Carla is back to refilling cups, but every few seconds, her eyes flick to Clarence. She's never seen this side of him. No one here has, and that's the thing about people like Clarence. They don't brag, they don't yell, they just carry more than most. In silence, Sorrel rises. He places a business card face down on the table. You call that number if anyone else tries anything. You understand me? Clarence nods. I appreciate you. Sorrel pauses, looks him in the eye. The people that matter do. But outside, something's brewing, and what Clarence doesn't know yet is that the worst is still coming, and it's not from the officers, it's from the internet. 2 hours later, the diner is back to its usual rhythm. Coffee cups clink, forks scrape plates, the low murmur of morning conversation hums beneath the crackling radio near the register. But something's different. It's not just that Clarence is still sitting in the same booth, it's the way people glance at him now. Longer, curious, respectful, hesitant. Carla leans in while refilling his coffee. You sure you want to stick around? You got half the city whispering already? Clarence shrugs. I didn't do anything wrong. Harold grunts from behind the counter. You didn't. But folks don't care about facts, they care about drama. And Clarence takes a sip. Then they better bring their own cup. I'm not pouring it. That gets a small chuckle out of Carla, but it doesn't last long. The bell above the door rings again. This time it's not a cop, not a customer. It's a teenage girl in a hoodie and sweatpants holding her phone like it's glued to her hand. You him? She asks, stepping toward Clarence's booth without hesitation. Clarence looks up, confused. You're the guy from the video, right? The veteran at Henry's Diner? Clarence frowns. How do you? It's all over TikTok. Somebody posted the bodycam footage, tagged the location. It's everywhere. My brother's in college and he saw it. Clarence leans back, jaw tight. That was fast. She laughs, incredulous. You're trending, man. People are pissed. Those cops. Twitter's eating them alive. Harold walks over, brow furrowed. Wait, who posted the footage? Don't know, but it's got over 400,000 views in like 2 hours. Carla puts a hand on her hip. What exactly does the video show? The girl scrolls and turns the screen. Here, look, on the tiny screen. Rhea's bodycam flickers to life. You can hear Langley asking Clarence for ID. You can hear Carla trying to speak up. You can see the moment Langley reaches for his cuffs and then Clarence quietly pulls out his phone and makes the call. Then Sorrel's arrival. It plays out like a scene in a movie. Clarence looks away. He doesn't like watching himself on screens. Feels like being peeled open in front of strangers. People are calling you a hero, the girl says, like silent warrior kind of hero. There's even a hashtag, Clarence Dupri. Clarence shakes his head. I'm not a hero. You're not invisible anymore, she says softly, and then she walks out just as quick as she came in. Carla pulls out her phone, taps around, then looks at Clarence. She's right, you're all over. There's articles popping up. Even a reporter from Savannah is asking for an interview. Clarence sighs. That's not what I wanted. You sure? Harold asks, because maybe it's what we needed, people finally seeing what's been happening right under their noses. Clarence doesn't answer. He looks down at the VA card still sitting on the edge of the table. That little piece of plastic never got him a job, never got him an apartment, never even got him a thank you when he needed it most. But now it's viral content, and that feels complicated. But outside, behind the scenes, bigger forces are waking up, because when the internet gets involved, stories don't just spread, they explode. By noon, Clarence's name isn't just floating around social media, it's running across the bottom of national news tickers. Local station WRBL picks up the footage, calling it another example of unchecked authority. CNN runs a short segment before lunch. By evening, the video's been clipped, stitched, remixed, and dissected by every online pundit with a webcam and an opinion. People want to know who this quiet, steady man is, where he came from, what he's been through, and how two local cops got so comfortable disrespecting him in broad daylight. They start digging, and that's when the truth about Clarence Dupri starts coming out. It begins with an old photo, black and white, grainy, taken somewhere in Fallujah. Clarence standing beside two other men in full combat gear, sand crusted on their uniforms, rifles slung over their shoulders, exhaustion in their eyes. The caption reads, Operative Clarence Dupri, Task Force Wolfhound, 2006. The internet doesn't know what Task Force Wolfhound is, so they dig deeper. Turns out it was a covert joint operations unit that handled hostage recovery missions, classified work. Most of their files were sealed, but veterans talk quietly, respectfully, and when one of them shares a redacted commendation letter addressed to Clarence dated 2007, the story breaks wide open. This wasn't just some regular grunt. Clarence Dupri had saved people, not once, not twice, dozens of times. There are no interviews with him on record, no medals hung on any wall, no speech or ceremony, just a paper trail of excellence hidden in silence. Back in the diner, Clarence doesn't have a clue how far things have gone. He doesn't do Twitter, doesn't care for TikTok. He's sitting in the same booth flipping through a local newspaper that doesn't even have the story yet. Sorrell calls again. You might want to prepare yourself, he says. For what? Clarence asks. The phones are ringing off the hook. Congressional offices, newsrooms, a few big-name vets from DC want to shake your hand. Some non-profit even wants to buy you a house. Clarence blinks. Buy me a house? Yeah, you're the internet's newest hero. Clarence laughs under his breath. It's not joy, it's disbelief. All I did was sit down for breakfast. No, Sorrell says. You stood up without standing up. Clarence looks out the window. The world feels like it's speeding up without asking if he wanted to come along. He doesn't like being the center of attention. He spent years trying not to be noticed, but now strangers are turning him into a symbol. Some for justice, some for contempt. Carla walks by and slides a small box onto the table. Someone from the VA center dropped that off for you. Inside, a clean button-up shirt, a pair of new boots, a prepaid phone, and a note that just says, thank you, Sergeant Dupri. Clarence stares at it a long moment. He doesn't need gifts, he needs peace. But maybe this is the cost of making the world look at something it's ignored for too long. Harold, Clarence says quietly, you ever feel like people don't see you till it's too late? Harold doesn't look up from the register only every damn day, but what Clarence doesn't know yet is that the video, his video, is about to force a conversation in places he never imagined, places that usually pretend men like him don't exist. The video doesn't fade like most trending clips do, it grows. By Thursday morning, the Mon Police Department issues a formal statement. We are conducting a full investigation into the incident involving Mr. Clarence Dupri, but the internet doesn't want a statement. They want action, they want names, and they already have them. Within hours, Officer Reed deletes his social media accounts. Officer Langley tries to go private, but not before someone screenshots his Facebook comments from years ago. Some of it's bad, real bad, the kind of stuff that makes you wonder how he ever wore a badge to begin with. Protesters gather outside the department headquarters, not thousands, not even hundreds, just enough to fill a sidewalk. A quiet line of folks holding signs that read, I am Clarence Dupri. No chance, no screaming, just presence, that's all it takes. Meanwhile, journalists begin peeling back the layers. Turns out this wasn't Langley's first complaint for profiling, or even his fifth. There were reports filed and forgotten, citizens who didn't know who to call, letters that never reached the right desk, but Clarence did, and his one call knocked the entire tree. At the diner, things have changed. Carla's been interviewed twice. Harold's photo is on a local blog. Customers show up just to sit in the booth Clarence was in. One guy even asked to take a selfie with the chair. Clarence shakes his head at it all. I'm not an attraction. He mumbles, you're a mirror. Carla replies, people just don't like what they see when they look in his still. Clarence doesn't feel like a hero. Heroes get rest, they get safe. He's still sleeping in the same shelter, still folding his jacket into a pillow at night, still stretching old pain out of his knees every morning. But something's different now. One evening, a van pulls up outside the shelter. Two men in suits get out and ask for Clarence. They hand him an envelope. Inside is a letter from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. It apologizes for how he's been treated, offers an expedited housing voucher, a counselor, a caseworker, access to a therapist. I didn't ask for this, Clarence says, holding the letter like it's a riddle. No, sir, the younger man says, but you earned it that night. Clarence doesn't sleep much. He lays on the cot, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the men he served with who didn't make it back, who never got letters, who never went viral, who were just forgotten. By Friday, the officers are suspended. The mayor of Mon Gives a press conference, the chief of police stumbles through an apology that sounds like it was written by lawyers, but it doesn't matter much. Public pressure does what bureaucracy never could. Resigns. Langley refuses, but with the investigation heating up and more old cases being re-examined, his badge is hanging by a thread. Even the union knows he's deadweight now. Clarence watches it all unfold from a bench outside the shelter. There's a camera crew waiting nearby, but he's not interested. Not today. He lights a cigarette. He doesn't usually smoke, but some days just call for it. An older woman walks by, recognizes him, and pauses. "Thank you," she says. Clarence doesn't ask for what, he just nods because maybe finally people are starting to understand something he's known for years. Respect isn't something you give to people like him out of pity. It's something they deserve, and if it took one phone call, one diner, and one bad morning to teach that lesson, so be it. But there's still one thing left to say, and Clarence knows it won't come from a press release or a protest. It has to come from him. The following Sunday morning, the diner's unusually quiet. No cameras, no news vans, just the regulars again, locals who come for Harold's eggs and Carla's gossip. The ones who were here before the headlines and will be here long after they disappeared. Clarence walks in wearing that same army jacket, but now his posture is different. Not stiff, not proud, just present. Like someone who knows exactly where he stands, even if the ground beneath him keeps shifting. Harold nods toward his usual booth. It's open and Clarence doesn't sit. He clears his throat and for a moment, nobody notices. Then Carla sees him. "Mr. Dupri," she says, setting down a tray. "I got something to say." Clarence replies, eyes scanning the room. The diner quiets. "I'm not a hero," he starts. "I didn't plan to be a story. I came in for eggs and coffee like always, like I have every Tuesday for years." He looks at Harold, then Carla. "Y'all saw me not as a problem, not as a project, as a person." He turns to the others, "But some folks, they didn't. And maybe now that video got out, people are paying attention. That's good. But attention isn't the same as understanding." A few heads nod slowly. One man lowers his fork. "See," Clarence says, tapping his chest lightly, "I wore this jacket in the desert. I watched men I loved die in the dirt for a country that forgets us the moment we take off the uniform." His voice stays even yet calm, but every word hits like a hammer. "I didn't ask for praise, I asked for a seat. I didn't demand a parade, just a plate." He pauses, "And still, I had to prove I belong." Clarence steps forward now, facing the room. "There are thousands like me. You won't see them on the news, you won't hear their names. Some are homeless, some are working jobs with bad knees and broken backs. Some just stopped talking cause they got tired of being invisible." He holds up a hand. "But hear this, being poor isn't a crime, being tired isn't a weakness, and asking to be treated like a human being should never be met with suspicion." Carla wipes her cheek, tries to make it look like she's just rubbing her eye. It doesn't work. Clarence smiles gently. "We all walk into places carrying stories no one sees, so the next time you see someone who looks like they don't belong, maybe they do. Maybe they belong more than you know." He nods once and finally takes his seat. Nobody claps. Nobody needs to. Sometimes the truth is loudest when it's quiet. The rest of the morning, folks come and go. Some leave cash on Clarence's table without a word. One woman hands him a handwritten letter and walks away. Harold brings him another coffee without asking. That afternoon, Clarence walks over to the shelter one last time. He packs his things. The apartment key from the VA is cold in his hand, strange, heavy. Later that week, the first news story fades, then the next, social media finds someone new to rage over. The world moves on, but Clarence doesn't. He plants roots in a neighborhood that sees him, in a place where people knock on his door, not to question him, but to say hello. He starts volunteering at a nearby school, speaking to kids about service, about silence, about dignity. The staff don't quite know how to introduce him, so they don't. They just say, "This is Mr. Dupri." You'll want to hear what he has to say, because it turns out people listen now, but more importantly, they look, and they see. Let this story be a reminder, not every hero wears a cape. Some wear jackets older than you, some sit quietly with coffee, some fight battles you'll never hear about. Respect doesn't come after you're gone, it should come while you're still here. So the next time you cross paths with someone who looks forgotten, speak, don't stare, listen, don't assume, and when you can, stand up, even if it's just by sitting down beside them. If this story moved you, take a moment today to check on someone who's been overlooked. Say something kind, buy them a coffee, look them in the eye. Brought to you by Dark Stories.